This is Ted Coppel.
Tonight on our program we have Mr. William Lloyd Garrison, anti-slavery activist and former publisher of The Liberator.
Yeah.
Mr. Garrison, you are best known as publisher of The Liberator. But what effect, if any, did your tough childhood have on you reaching this goal?
A lot. Hold the phone. I smell Kool-Aid. Where my Kool-Aid? In 1805, I was born in Newbury, Massachusetts. And, hold on a sec.
How's it taste, mother?
Newbury, Massachusetts. Then, my family faced a lot of economic difficulties after the Embargo Act of 1807. And then, my dad ran away when I was 3 years old in 1808. But then, I had to take up a lot of jobs and apprenticeships. And that taught me that life, you have to work hard in life in order to achieve your goals.
That's why I'm here, Mr. Garrison, because I never achieved any of my goals. What was your first big success as a result of all this hard work, Mr. Garrison?
When I was 19, in 1824, I became the chief editor of the Newburyport Herald.
How long did this job at the Newburyport Herald last you for?
It lasted a few years, but in 1828, I left the Newburyport Herald to work at the National Philanthropist.
I understand that while you were editor for these two papers, you were also involved in the American Colonization Society. How long were you in this, and then why did you leave it?
Well, I left in 1830 because rather than their goal to free blacks, they wanted to preserve the institution of slavery rather than to abolish it.
1829, you were sent to jail for libel, which means that you did something defamatory to someone else. Would you care to comment on this issue?
No! But in all seriousness, in 1829, it's okay, I'm here for you. But I moved from working at the Philanthropist in Boston to work as the co-editor of the newspaper called The Genius of Universal Emancipation. And while I was working for them, I criticized the merchant for being involved with the slave trade, yet he didn't really appreciate it, so I got landed in jail, and that's rather unfortunate.
In 1830, you were released from prison. What effect, if any, did your time in prison have on how you viewed the institution of slavery?
Well, prior to my time spent in prison, I believed in the eventual emancipation of all slaves. Yet, after my time spent in prison, I believed that all slaves should be immediately released from slavery.
31. The first issue of The Liberator was published. What types of things did this anti-slavery newspaper advocate?
Well, the night before, I had a huge hangover. I mean, for real. Thank God for coffee and Chaser Plus. What are you doing? I'm trying to talk here. But in all seriousness, the Liberator advocated anti-slavery and the immediate emancipation of slavery, but support for this type of radical idea was very unpopular at the time.
How long did The Liberator last for?
Well, it lasted for...
Just get a couple of these right here.
It lasted for 35 years and published 1,820 issues.
You formed the first groups to advocate emancipation. What were these groups, and how successful do you think that they were?
Well, in 1932, formed the New England Anti-Slavery Society. In 1833, I formed the American Anti-Slavery Society, and personally, I think both of them were very successful, yeah, that's the word, in that they both spread knowledge about the cruelty of the institution of slavery.
Reason that you were opposed to slavery?
Well, the Declaration of Independence states that all people are entitled to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And I, personally, do not believe that people should not be entitled to these rights just because of the color of their skin.
In 1859, John Brown attacked Harper's Ferry to gain support of slaves for his emancipation army. Do you support what he did, or do you think negatively of his actions?
Well, personally, I supported his motives. But really, I don't think violence was the true way to go about something like this.
How did your views on slavery change after the Robert Brown incident?
Well, slavery's bad, okay? But I abandoned my pacifist views that I once had and supported Lincoln in the preservation of the Union rather than slavery as my main objective.
Well, after the Raider ended after the Civil War, what kinds of things did you shift your attention towards?
Well, after the war ended, I lobbied for women's rights and suffrage, pacifism, and the abstinence from alcohol.
Hi, how do you want people to remember you?
What type of question is that? I ain't gonna die! When I die, as someone who helped this country to overcome its prejudiced views on black people and slavery and any type of minority.
All the time we have. Well, thank you for joining us, Mr. Garrison. That's all the time we have. Tune in next week for an exclusive interview with Charles Manson.
Program with William Garrison and Ted Coppel has been brought to you by 7-Eleven. Where you can always depend on